Christmas lights sparkled across the living room, reflecting off the silver wrapping paper in my sister's lap. My parents leaned in close, waiting for her reaction as she peeled back the box to reveal the gift inside. Her scream pierced the room. "Gucci!" she gasped, clutching the $4,300 handbag like it was proof of her divinity. My mom's eyes watered. My dad clapped his hands together. They looked at her as if she had just cured cancer. Then it was my turn. A thin envelope slid across the table toward me. No wait. No excitement. Just silence. I opened it. A $2 holiday card with a generic print from Walgreens. No note. No message. Just a lazy "Merry Christmas" signed in rushed handwriting, and in that instant, something inside me broke. My name is Rachel Miller. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me, because I need to ask you something. Have you ever been treated like a stranger in your own family? I smiled. Not the kind that reaches your eyes. The kind you wear to cover a wound. I thanked them, my voice trembling, while my sister twirled her Gucci like she'd won the lottery. "Don't be dramatic," my mom said when she caught me looking at the card. "Your sister deserves nice things. She's worked so hard this year." Funny. I had worked harder. 2 jobs. Night shifts. Rent paid on my own. No bailouts. No safety net. But in this house, effort didn't matter. Bloodlines didn't matter. I was always second place. Dinner was served, but my appetite was gone. Each laugh they shared stabbed deeper, like I was invisible. My sister toasted with champagne, and my parents raised their glasses high. Mine stayed empty. I excused myself quietly, stood up, and walked outside. The cold air slapped my face, sharper than any insult. My boots crunched on the snow as I realized what I was leaving behind. 29 years of being invisible. 29 years of coming second in a family that never once looked back to see if I was keeping up. That night, as the frost kissed my skin, I swore I would never sit at their table as the forgotten daughter again. They thought I'd disappear quietly. But the truth? That was the night my story began. The air outside burned my lungs with every breath, but it felt cleaner than the suffocating room I had just left. I stood there in the snow, staring at the warm glow spilling from the windows of the house I grew up in. My family was still laughing, still drinking, still celebrating the daughter they loved, the daughter who wasn't me. I pulled my coat tighter and walked down the street, my heels sinking into the icy pavement. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my sister: "Don't be jealous. You'll get something better next year if you try harder." Try harder. The words sliced deeper than any blade. I didn't reply. Instead, I kept walking. Block after block, until the houses grew smaller, the lights dimmer. Somewhere in the distance, fireworks cracked open the sky. People were celebrating. But for me, the night was funeral black. By the time I reached my car, my hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from rage. I sat behind the wheel, gripping it until my knuckles turned white. That was when the thought hit me: maybe leaving wasn't enough. For 29 years, I had played my part, quiet, compliant, grateful for scraps. But what if I stopped playing? What if I rewrote the script they had forced me into? My mind wandered back to every insult. Every birthday where my cake was smaller. Every graduation where my achievements were overshadowed by hers. Every holiday where she got luxury, and I got leftovers. My parents always said she was the star, the golden one. And me? I was the shadow, but shadows learn to move silently. And sometimes, shadows are the only things left standing when the light burns out. I unlocked my phone. My savings account glared back at me. Years of overtime, double shifts, missed nights out. I had been saving for a rainy day. But maybe the storm had already come. I opened a new tab and typed, "How to sell luxury designer bags online." It was just a thought, wild, dangerous, but it lodged itself in my chest and refused to leave. What would happen if my sister's precious Gucci disappeared? What would they do if the golden child's shine dimmed, even for a moment? I smiled for the first time that night. The plan wasn't clear yet. But one thing was certain: I wasn't going to be their shadow anymore. When I drove away from that street, snow swirling in my headlights, I knew there was no turning back. My family had pushed me into exile. They had given me nothing to lose, and when someone has nothing to lose, they become unstoppable. The next morning, I woke up in my small apartment, the silence louder than any Christmas carol. No calls. No texts. Not even a "Merry Christmas" from my parents. They didn't notice I had left early. Or worse, they noticed, and didn't care. I brewed cheap coffee and sat at my kitchen table, staring at the steam as if it could show me the future. My sister's Instagram notification lit up my phone. "Merry Christmas to me. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for the best gift ever. #Gucci Queen." Hundreds of likes. Comments rolling in. Her smile wide and perfect, the bag draped over her arm like royalty's crown. My hands curled into fists. That bag wasn't just leather and gold buckles. It was a monument, proof that in our family, love had a price tag. And my price was always cheaper. I tapped the photo, zooming in until the Gucci logo filled my screen. My reflection stared back from the black patent leather, eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. That bag was her trophy. So it would also be her downfall. I pulled out my notebook, the one I used for budgeting and grocery lists. On a fresh page, I wrote one word: revenge. Beneath it, I started a list. Get close. Gain trust. Take the bag. Sell it. Watch everything crumble. But this wasn't about the money. I didn't need her bag to survive. This was about balance. About finally tipping the scale that had been broken since the day I was born. Still, I couldn't move recklessly. My sister was careless, but my parents weren't. If the bag vanished overnight, suspicion would point straight at me. I needed patience. Timing. Precision. So I waited. Over the next week, I studied her life the way a detective studies a suspect. Her patterns were predictable. She flaunted her Gucci everywhere: brunch, shopping, even the gym. Every post tagged her location. Every smile screamed arrogance. One night, over wine, she even called me. "Hey, don't be bitter about Christmas, okay? Maybe if you dressed better, worked harder, dated someone successful, Mom and Dad would see you differently. You can't blame them for rewarding the daughter who shines." I bit my tongue until blood filled my mouth. I told her I was happy for her. I told her I loved her. I told her she was right, because sometimes the sharpest knife is the one hidden in kindness. When she invited me to her apartment the following weekend, girls' night. Just us, like old times, I accepted, and as I hung up the phone, I looked back at the list in my notebook. Step 1, get close. Almost complete, the game had begun. Her apartment was a shrine to excess. White marble countertops. Gold accents. Designer shoes lined up like soldiers along the wall. And in the center of it all, on a pedestal by the couch, was the Gucci bag. She had placed it there deliberately, like a trophy on display. As if every visitor needed to understand her worth in one glance. "Cute, right?" she said, watching my eyes land on it. "Mom said I deserved something timeless. A classic piece. You know? An heirloom. An heirloom. A $4,300 heirloom bought with their love." While I had been handed a $2 card. I smiled, forcing warmth into my voice. "It's gorgeous. You really do deserve it." The lie tasted sweet. She poured us wine, and we sank into the plush sofa. Music pulsed low in the background, some playlist meant to feel effortless but curated for envy. She talked about her job promotions, her new boyfriend, her plans to travel to Italy in the spring. Her words blurred together, but my focus never left the bag. Every detail mattered: where she placed it when she wasn't looking, how often she glanced at it, whether she locked it up before bed.by midnight. After too much wine, she stumbled toward her bedroom. "Stay over," she slurred, "just like old times. Couch is yours." I nodded. Of course. But when the door closed behind her, silence bloomed. I sat up, my pulse hammering. The bag gleamed in the moonlight, untouched, waiting. One move. That's all it would take, but I wasn't ready, not yet. If I took it now, it would be obvious. She'd call our parents, point her finger at me, and I'd be painted as the jealous sister. I didn't want suspicion. I wanted devastation. So instead, I pulled out my phone. Snap. A photo of the Gucci bag, time-stamped. Then another, with her asleep in the background. Evidence. Proof. Seeds for a future story that hadn't been told yet. I slipped my notebook from my purse, flipping to the list. Get close. Gain trust. In progress. Take the bag. Pending. A plan was like a fire. It needed fuel, air, and patience. I wasn't here to steal a purse. I was here to dismantle her pedestal. To let her climb high enough that when the ground gave way, the fall would shatter her. Lying back on the couch, I closed my eyes. Her soft snores drifted from the bedroom. The Gucci sat silent, glittering under the dim light. It wasn't time yet. But soon, and when it happened, she wouldn't see it coming, because sometimes revenge doesn't strike like lightning. Sometimes it waits in the shadows, growing sharper, until the moment you forget the storm is even there. I waited until the house slept like it always did, soft, smug, oblivious. Emily's bedroom light clicked off at 1:12 a.m. Her breath evened out. The apartment hummed with the slow, satisfied noise of privilege, the dishwasher, the heater, the soft tick of a clock that never had to count bills. I moved like a shadow. No sudden breaths, no clumsy hands. The bag sat where she'd left it, arrogant and gleaming on the coffee table. Up close, the leather smelled faintly of perfume and late nights out. It felt heavier than the price tag. It felt heavy with every time my name had been a footnote. I picked it up as if lifting a verdict. My fingers brushed the hardware and something cold uncoiled under my ribs, exhilaration braided with guilt. This was theft and theater at once. I told myself it was justice. I told myself it was an experiment. Both lies and truth can keep you moving. I slipped the strap over my shoulder and walked out. The street was empty and my boots whispered across puddles that reflected a wedge of moonlight. In the car, I held the bag in my lap and stared at it like it was a foreign animal. I could sell it tonight to some pawnshop and walk back into the world with cash and a crooked smile. Or I could do it cleanly, consignment, authentication. A buyer who wouldn't ask questions and a bank deposit that didn't look like ransom money. I chose clean. 2 days later. Under a different name, with cash in an envelope and no history attached. I walked into a boutique consignment store downtown. The woman at the counter, mid-30s with sharp glasses and a better haircut than any therapist I'd had, weighed the bag like an appraisal and nodded. "This is genuine," she said. "We can sell it for you. If you want discretion, we handle shipping and the sale will clear." Her voice was mechanical, used to secrets. We signed papers I didn't read. Legalese can be a cloak when you want to bury a body of evidence. The envelope of my life changed hands, Gucci for signatures, my anger for verification, privilege for procedure. When I left, the city felt different, as if I had shaved a layer off myself. The deposit hit my account 3 days later, $3,200 after fees. Less than the sticker but enough. I looked at the numbers until they blurred. That money could cover rent for months, buy me a plane ticket, fund whatever small revolution I'd been sketching in the margins of my notebook. It could also disappear into the thinning air of a morning latte. The choice was mine. I didn't spend it. Instead, I used the first chunk to rent a P.O. box in a neighborhood that didn't know my surname. I opened an anonymous email. I hired a freelance editor to draft something that sounded like a confession but read like a mirror, one of those public reckonings that people devour with popcorn and righteous fury. I bought time and distance in a small, cold thrill. Selling the bag was only the first part. The bag's disappearance was a stone I had tossed into a pond. Now I planned to watch the ripples. I could see the future in quick shots, Emily panicking, my parents calling, accusations flung like broken glass. I could see them combing through our past for reasons to blame me. I could see my name on their lips stretched thin and ugly, and yet, as I folded the receipt into my wallet, a small, impossible thought came. After all the planning, after every list and photograph, the most dangerous thing I had done wasn't taking the bag. It was letting myself want more than acceptance from a family that traded affection with receipts. That realization hit harder than the thrill. For the first time since Christmas, I felt something that wasn't rage or strategy. I felt a pulse of fear and the dawning shape of freedom. I knew then the truth I had been trying to buy with another person's luxury. I wasn't looking to punish Emily for her bag. I was trying to punish the idea that my worth could be measured by a price tag. I drove past my parents' house that night and watched the light through the curtains, warm and ordinary. My hands rested on the steering wheel as if steering could steer a life back to who I once was. I had taken a $4,300 handbag and traded it for a number in my bank account and a doorway I'd never opened before, and standing in the dark with that trade in my pocket, I realized the hardest part was no longer taking. It was becoming someone who could keep going after she'd crossed the line. The next move had to be sharper. The pause was over. The first crack appeared 4 days later. I was at work, shelving boxes in the back room of the bookstore when my phone lit up. My sister's name. 3 missed calls. Then a string of frantic texts, Rachel. Call me now. It's gone. I don't understand, my Gucci's gone. Did you see anything when you were here? I leaned against the metal shelf, the cardboard biting into my palms as I scrolled. Her panic spilled across the screen, raw and desperate. For once, the world wasn't applauding her. It was watching her stumble. I typed slowly, I haven't seen it. Are you sure you didn't misplace it? Her reply came fast, misplace? Do you think I'd lose something like that? I could almost hear her voice rising, sharp with entitlement. I smiled. For the first time, she was grasping at shadows. That night, I checked her social media. The Gucci bag had vanished from her feed. No more brunch photos. No more mirror selfies. Instead, vague captions about bad luck and toxic people. Her followers asked questions. She ignored them. The Golden Girl's shine was dimming. My parents called me the next evening. My mother's voice was brittle. Your sister's bag was stolen. Were you involved? There it was. The accusation dressed as concern. No, Mom, I said softly. Why would you even think that? But I already knew why, because in their eyes, I had always been capable of less. Less beauty. Less grace. Less worth. And now, in their panic, I was suddenly capable of theft. I hung up before my voice cracked. Alone in my apartment, I pulled out the notebook. The list stared back at me. Get close. Gain trust. Take the bag. Sell it. Watch everything crumble. In progress, but I wanted more than crumbling. I wanted collapse. So I sent an anonymous email. A single photograph attached, Emily asleep in her bed, the Gucci bag gleaming on the coffee table. Subject line, you should have taken better care of your heirloom. No signature. No trace. Just a spark tossed into dry grass. By morning, her social media was locked down. Friends whispered in comments. My parents called again, angrier this time. Someone is harassing your sister. This has gone too far. I played the role of concerned sibling, gasping in all the right places. But inside, I savored every second, because for the first time in my life, Emily wasn't untouchable. For the first time, my family's golden pedestal was cracking, and I wasn't done yet. The bag was gone. The money was mine. But revenge, true revenge, wasn't about possessions. It was about rewriting the story they had always told about me, and I was just getting started. The town smelled like rain and something worse, anticipation. People love a story where the favored fall. They line up for it like it's theater. And tonight the lights were on us. I started small, a forwarded email to a local gossip account, and signed. With a screenshot of my sister's IG caption the week she bragged about the bag and a photo of a receipt I'd found tucked into an old holiday card at our parents' house, $4 $300, paid in full. The receipt had our parents' initials in the corner. The caption read, when your family finally shows up. The post hit like a match, within hours. My phone buzzed until the battery winked out. Messages. Tags. DMs from strangers who knew us by name without ever meeting us. Is it true? How could they? Why would anyone buy that for her? People like to imagine moral symmetry. The moment it appears, they pack it into their feed and move on, satisfied they've witnessed justice. Emily's panic was delicious in the way a storm is beautiful from a safe window. She posted a video, voice raw, denying everything. My parents called me twice, first pleading, then accusing. My father's anger was public and private at once. An old radio breaking under static. Rachel, he snapped when I answered, what are you doing? This is your sister's life. This is our life, I said. You made the choice. My voice didn't tremble. I let the silence after my sentence hang between us like a glass shard. They threatened lawyers. They threatened police. They threatened to cut me off if I didn't stop. Threats are nothing but the last resort of people who still think rules belong to them. I listened and collected them like proof that my plan was working. It wasn't enough to show the purchase. I wanted everyone, friends, coworkers, distant relatives, to see the pattern. I dug through old holiday emails, found a half-written letter from my mother to a charity where she'd bragged about how charitable giving made the family look good at the country club. I printed fragments and let them leak into the right hands, past girlfriends of Emily's exes, baristas at her favorite cafe, mothers in her book club. Each person who received a piece of the story folded it into the narrative and passed it on. Emily began to fracture in public. She posted apologies that didn't look like apologies, more like rehearsed lines. She deleted photos but couldn't delete the memory of the bag in our feed, the symbol that marked who mattered in our family. The comments widened into a canyon where her voice echoed small and thin. At home, my parents' faces grew tired. My mother called one night, voice low and broken, "Rachel, please. Stop." She said please like someone begging a storm to change course. I wondered, for a fraction of a second, about mercy. The thought was fleeting as a moth's wing. Mercy costs you something I had no intention of paying, the quiet of being overlooked. I'd traded so much for this moment: comfort, sleep, ease. I wasn't stepping back now. Then the email arrived. No sender. No trace. Subject: want the full story? Inside, a PDF with bank statements showing a pattern: payments to my sister's fashion accounts, last-minute transfers timed around birthdays and holidays, the same handwriting threaded through every note. It was a map of favoritism and a ledger of choices. Whoever sent it knew how to inflict the right kind of pain, not theft, not violence, but truth. I printed the pages and sat at my kitchen table while the city outside went on. I spread them like a ritual and felt the room tilt. This was not only about one purse anymore. It was about the ledger that had kept my worth lower than a line item on a spreadsheet. I posted the PDF to a private neighborhood board under an anonymous account. I watched as neighbors read, as commentary grew, as people I'd never met took stock of the family they smiled at in the grocery aisle. The reaction was immediate and volcanic. My parents finally left voicemails, one breathless, one pleading, one with my father's voice cracking so low I could hear the old man beneath the bluster. They begged me to stop. They told me I was tearing the family apart. They were right. I was, but tearing down the safe version of myself was the only way to build something real. Pain is an architect, too, even if its buildings are jagged. That night I sat with my hands folded over the last line of the bank pages and felt the shape of what I'd become. I had planned each move like a chess player, but somewhere between pawn and queen, I had started to play for something I hadn't named. A hand pressed a note under my door. No footprints in the snow. The paper was plain, the handwriting small and careful. "Be careful what you wish for," it said, under that. A single line: "They aren't the only ones who keep ledgers." The room went quiet, and for the first time since Christmas, fear sat beside me at the table, familiar, intimate, and dangerous. The note stayed on my table for 3 days. I didn't touch it. Didn't fold it. Just stared at it whenever I passed, like it might dissolve into smoke and leave me free of its warning. But it didn't. It sat there, patient, reminding me that revenge never moves in one direction. By the 4th day, the storm had broken wide open. My sister quit posting altogether. Her friends whispered. Her boss, the one who had once bragged about her polished image, suspended her pending reputation review. My parents, who had wrapped their pride around her like a silk scarf, now moved through town with heads bent low. And me? I felt lighter. Not happy, never happy, but seen. The invisible daughter had carved her name into the story. Then the second email came. This one wasn't anonymous. It was from my father. Subject: enough. Attached, a photograph. It was me, leaving Emily's apartment that night. The Gucci bag slung across my shoulder. My father's words beneath were simple: "We know." For a moment, everything stopped. The hum of the fridge. The traffic outside. Even my own breathing. They knew. And yet, instead of calling the police, instead of dragging me into court, they had sent me this. A warning. A chance. Or maybe a test. I wrote back one line: "You created this." No reply came. That night, I packed a small suitcase. Not because I was running, I was done running, but because I was ready to leave their orbit entirely. The money from the bag still sat in my account, untouched, humming like an engine waiting to be used. I booked a flight. One way. Before I left, I sent one final gift. To my sister. To my parents. To the whole neighborhood board. A folder of every receipt, every bank statement, every photograph that had ever marked the divide between us. I signed it not with my name, but with a single sentence: "Love is not bought, it is counted, and you always counted me short." I hit send, and then I walked out into the dawn. The air was sharp, the kind that makes your lungs ache but your chest expand. For once, I wasn't thinking of what they owed me. I was thinking of what I would build for myself, outside their walls, beyond their table, far away from their ledger. On the plane, as the city shrank below, I closed my notebook. The list was finished. Get close. Gain trust. Take the bag. Sell it. Watch everything crumble. Every step complete. Every move done. Justice didn't look like a courtroom or an apology. It looked like freedom, the kind you only taste when you've burned the old script and started writing your own. For 29 years, they never once looked back for me. This time, I didn't look back for them.